You are listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today that this will be like a vitamin or supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. It will enable others to be able to locate this podcast. Great to have you with us today. I want to talk about limitations. And not just any kind of limitations, the kind of limitations that we place on ourselves. For many of the limitations of life are really self-inflicted. Whether it's from our past, whether it's from relationships, whether it's from upbringing or bad experiences of any kind, they can become our teacher, and not particularly good teachers. And then we internalize it, take it upon ourselves, and then impose, without anyone else saying a word, we impose these self-limiting beliefs become a part of our belief system. So let's talk about that in relationship to the leader. If you accept a limiting belief, regardless of what it is, then it does become a truth for you. If you begin to have self-talk that you have developed over your life, or because of the residue of past experiences, then you'll say, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I can't do that. No one from my background does that kind of thing. When you internalize that and begin to talk to yourself consciously or unconsciously, that self-limiting belief becomes a fulfilling prophecy because you accept it as the absolute truth. That's why I wanted to take some time on leaders to think about, are some of the things that are happening in our lives, are they self-inflicted wounds? The number one of which might be limiting beliefs we put on ourselves. So what are we going to say about it today? Well, first of all of us have this in some way, manner, or form. It starts with self-awareness. Until you are aware of yourself, aware of what's happening in your life, you have some understanding of what's happened in the past, what circumstances and events of life have brought you where you are today. You really need to start with a good self-awareness. Now, I'm not talking about being morbidly introspective or, again, adding one more layer of self-loathing and criticism. Rather, I want you to begin to evaluate, why do I act like this? Why is it when I'm with certain people I quiet down and don't participate? Why is it that I fall into, maybe they're not destructive behaviors, but they are certainly counterproductive? You'll never be able to explore this. You will tune this entire podcast out and say, well, that applies to others. It doesn't apply to me. And that happens because we have not developed self-awareness. Do you know how people react to you? Do you see what happens in a room when you walk in? Do you see where you work or even in your family how people act around you? It starts with self-awareness, and one of the greatest things to do is to sit down and take inventory. Why do you do the things you do? Why do you have the feelings that you have? Why is it difficult for you to do certain things? Nothing is going to happen until you develop a good sense of self-awareness. Now, there are lots of areas in where these self-limiting thoughts and beliefs and actions come to bear. One of the ways is it limits our goal setting. We think, oh, my family has always been in debt. My parents were in debt. My grandparents were in debt. My siblings are in debt. My spouse's family were always in debt. Therefore, I'm not going to work at it. I'm not going to take the steps that are necessary, because you begin to limit that you don't even think it's in the realm of possibility for anyone like you, whatever that means, to be able to be debt-free. You can make this with anything: weight loss, career advancement, being a good person, being a good spouse, spiritual growth, intellectual growth, getting a degree, getting a particular certification that is essential if you want to rise in the organization where you are. And you'll say, well, no one in my family ever went to college. I come from a family of large people. We've always been overweight. And those are not truisms. Those are self-limiting beliefs that you have taken on, and they are absolutely a roadblock for you getting better and you reaching the goals that you need to reach. Another way that these things can happen in our lives and where they limit us is in our ideas. There are some of you listening who think it's only certain people from certain backgrounds or who hold certain positions who have all the good ideas. You know, even the most creative person, even the person who scores high in ideation, borrows a lot of the things they get from someone else. Why can't you come up with a good idea? You can. There's nothing in your DNA, your birthright, where you were born, the color of your skin, your background, that would say, well, you are destined to never have a reasonably good idea. You can have a good idea. We'll talk about it in a few moments, but one of the ways to bust through and to push through these self-limiting beliefs and thoughts is to get uncomfortable and to do the work. I believe everyone listening to me today, wherever today is for you, you have a good idea. You have an idea that the world really needs to hear. You have worth. We need your contribution. Don't sell yourself short. Another area that I see where self-limiting thoughts come in is in that there are some people who just limit the effort. It's sort of the almost throw up your hands and say, well, what is the use? I tried before, it didn't work, and I've tried hard before and can't come up empty. Regardless of what it is you are going to do in life, everything takes some effort. My wife and I are getting ready to celebrate 40 years of marriage. It didn't just happen. We didn't just float along on a cloud. For the Mrs. Ron, she had to work really hard. It took a lot of effort to stay married to me. Anything worthwhile, you have to put time in. You have to do your best. You have to continually seek constant improvement and being a better person today than you were yesterday. Don't limit your efforts thinking it doesn't make a difference. I've spent copious amounts of time on this podcast telling you the only thing that really makes a difference is manageable, small actions done incrementally and consistently over time have outsized, enormous results given enough time. Another self-limiting area that comes in is that people have limits on what they believe they can do and what is possible. A lot of times it's our interpretation of the past, this limiting beliefs, and this undigested pain that we have from some things that have happened. I'm not saying the things that happened are not real and that they weren't painful. They were very painful. But for some reason, you've allowed it to cause you to stop, and you're not able to move forward with clear vision. They say that misery loves company, and I want to tell you something else that loves company: mediocrity. Don't let the limiting beliefs that you hold or the limiting beliefs that others hold of what is possible for you. When I was in college, there would have been no one who would have voted me most likely to succeed. I was possessed with a lot of self-limiting doubts. No one in my family had ever gone to college. No one had ever done these kinds of things. No one had ever tried these things. And I just sort of was floating along, accepting the status quo, and my status quo was rather low. But one day I found out that all things are possible to the one who believes. and that with God's help, you can change and you can make a difference. And you have to stop limiting what you could accomplish. You are going to be able to do things that maybe just days, weeks, months ago sounded incredibly impossible, but you can do them. I think another limiting is self-doubt. We doubt, we sort of feel like, are we an imposter? Are people going to figure out one of these days that I'm way in over my head and I have no idea what I'm doing? And we kind of talk, I can't do this. What if this doesn't work out? What if I mess this all up? And we begin to doubt ourselves. Chronic self-doubt is a symptom of whatever our core belief is that says, I'm not good enough. We adopt these types of limiting beliefs in response to either our family, our childhood, past experiences, and it just becomes rooted in us that we feel like we don't have the ability to take the action to override it. And I'm here today to tell you, you can. Your self-limiting beliefs are self-inflicted. You can do something. And again, we need your contribution to the world. Another self-limiting belief or an action, a byproduct of that, is some forms of procrastination. Because you fear that you're not able to do it. You fear that you are indeed in over your head. So you find all sorts of other things to distract you. And when you're not able to do this, it happens. I had a writing assignment years ago, and I was paralyzed with fear. I was surrounded by people on the project who had been published writers, and I was asked to write this chapter, and I was just paralyzed by fear. And finally, the assignment was taken from me and given to someone else. And it was no one else's fault but mine. I was procrastinating out of fear and self-limiting thoughts that I had at that time. You can do it. Find someone who believes in you. And if you can't find anyone, Dr. Ron believes in you. Quit doubting, quit procrastinating. Then some have a self-limiting behavior of perfectionism. They won't do anything. They won't complete a project. They won't bring anything in for landing unless it's absolutely perfect. And they've allowed perfect to be the enemy of good. Now, you should strive for your best, without saying. But don't allow perfectionism to become a form of procrastination and to become a self-limiting belief. There's also this idea of scarcity. Well, there's only so much for so many. There's only so many dollars to go around. I remember talking to someone one time who said that people in my family are jealous when I have relationships with friends because they feel like I will love them less. Listen, love is not a pie with only 6 pieces, and once you've passed out the 6 pieces, it's over. So we have to fight because love is a scarce resource. Love is never ending. You could never find enough people to love that you would run out of love. There's plenty of resources. There's enough time. There's enough people. Quit giving in to a scarcity mindset. It is a self-inflicted, self-limiting belief. And there is also this idea of a fear of failure. I don't know that I can really do this. Remember, we get what we tolerate, so quit tolerating excuses within yourself. Quit tolerating the limiting beliefs of the past, and quit living in a fearful state. Today, the assignment to all of this is, for all of these self-limiting beliefs, fear of failure on up and down, is today do something that makes you uncomfortable. To the point that you become comfortable with it, comfortable making progress. You'll prove to yourself that you're limiting, you'll find, I have found this to be so true, that when I do the uncomfortable and push through it, I prove to myself time and time again that our limiting beliefs do die a quick death if you'll keep doing that which initially seems uncomfortable. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today that this has been like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? Leave a brief rating and a written review. It will help others to locate this. Remember, my leadership friend, you are doing better than you think you are. Give up your self-limiting beliefs. Do something you know you need to do, you want to do. The world needs your contribution, and you will find as you push through that, your self-doubt will die a quick death. This is Dr. Ron saying until next time, have a great and blessed day.